Welcome to Bedtime True Crime, the YouTube channel that takes you on a haunting exploration of the world of true crime, serial killers, and unsolved mysteries. Join us as we journey into the shadows, unearthing spine-tingling tales that will keep you awake at night. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to never miss another thrilling episode. Now get comfortable, turn off the lights, and prepare to be captivated by the sinister side of human nature as we delve into today's bone-chilling story. In the picturesque town of Villisca, Iowa, nestled within America's heartland, lies a chilling unsolved mystery that has haunted its residents for over a century. On June 10, 1912, under the cloak of darkness, an unknown assailant brutally murdered an entire family and their two young guests with an axe as they slept. The gruesome scene left even seasoned investigators reeling from shock. As we delve into this harrowing tale set against the backdrop of a seemingly idyllic small town, prepare to uncover dark secrets buried beneath its charming facade. As details unravel about this horrifying case, keep your senses sharp for any clues that may bring us closer to identifying the merciless killer who evaded capture all these years. Villisca thrived during the early 20th century as a bustling railroad hub. Steam-powered locomotives chugged through town, while shops and businesses lined its vibrant main street catering to weary travelers. Yet hidden behind this quaint exterior lay sinister truths waiting to be exposed. The Moore family, Josiah B., his wife Sarah Montgomery Moore, and their four children Herman, 11, Catherine, 9, Boyd, 7, and Paul, 5, resided at 508 East 2nd Street in Villisca. Esteemed members of society, Josiah owned a prosperous farm equipment business, while Sarah actively participated in church activities and social clubs. On Sunday evening, June 9, 1912, following a Children's Day program organized by Sarah herself at their local Presbyterian church, the Moores extended an invitation to Ina Mae Stillinger, 8, and her sister Lena Gertrude Stillinger, 12, for an impromptu sleepover since nightfall was rapidly approaching. Unbeknownst to them or anyone else present on that warm summer evening was just how tragically fate would turn inside those walls. As dusk descended upon the warm June evening, the Moore family and their young guests retreated to their bedrooms, blissfully unaware of the unspeakable terror that would soon befall them. In the dead of night, a shadowy figure crept into their home, armed with Josiah's own axe, an instrument of death now poised to shatter their peaceful slumber. The intruder began his gruesome work in the master bedroom where Josiah and Sarah lay entwined in sleep. With swift and brutal force, he struck both victims repeatedly in the head, until they were unrecognizable masses of gore. The relentless savagery of these initial blows served as a chilling harbinger for what was yet to come. Moving through the house like a wraith, each footstep silent against creaking floorboards, the murderer made his way towards Herman's room. There, bathed in moonlight streaming through gaps in drawn curtains, young Herman slept alongside Boyd and Paul. Without hesitation or remorse, he raised his bloodied axe once more and brought it down upon each child with sickening precision, skull fragments scattering across their pillows like macabre confetti. In another corner of this doomed household, Catherine shared her sanctuary with Ina Mae and Lena Gertrude Stillinger, two innocent girls who had simply sought refuge from darkness outside. But even they could not escape this madman's wrath as he mercilessly extinguished their lives one by one. Soft whimpers muffled beneath rustling bedcovers before falling forever silent. Throughout this hellish onslaught, none stirred nor cried out, whether paralyzed by fear or perhaps because death claimed them too swiftly for any reaction at all. As dawn broke over Villisca on June 10, 1912, casting its pale light onto 8 lifeless bodies strewn across blood-soaked bedrooms, only shadows bore witness to an unimaginable evil that had invaded their sanctuary under cover of darkness. The chilling revelation of the massacre began with Mary Peckham, a worried neighbor who couldn't help but notice the unsettling silence emanating from the Moore household on that fateful morning of June 10th. Her persistent knocks echoed through the empty street as she sought any sign of life within the house, only to be met with an eerie stillness. Growing increasingly concerned, Mary contacted Ross Moore, Josiah's brother, Armed with a spare key and a heavy heart, he hesitantly unlocked the front door. As it creaked open, an oppressive silence weighed down upon him, a sinister contrast to what should have been a lively family home just hours before. With each cautious step further into the dimly lit house, shadows seemed to dance in anticipation around him. It wasn't long before Ross stumbled upon a sight so horrifying that its memory would torment him for years to come. Ina May and Lena Gertrude Stillinger lay motionless in their beds, blood-soaked sheets obscuring their faces like grotesque veils. The air hung thick with dread, as if even time itself had stopped in horror at this ghastly scene. Overcome by shock and disbelief, Ross immediately alerted local authorities. When they arrived at 508 East 2nd Street, they found themselves confronted by an even more gruesome tableau. Each victim uncovered one by one unveiled, unspeakable brutality inflicted upon every member of this once happy family. Skulls shattered beyond recognition, painted walls crimson red, macabre masterpieces created by some twisted artist's hand. As news spread throughout Villisca about this unimaginable tragedy, waves of fear rippled through its tight-knit community. People huddled outside the crime scene wearing expressions of sheer disbelief, while others barricaded themselves indoors out of terror that a deranged killer might still roam among them. The investigation commenced urgently, as police combed every inch of the murder site for clues or evidence that could lead them to the monster responsible for these heinous acts. Yet, despite their relentless pursuit of truth, they found themselves grasping at straws, only serving to heighten the growing sense of unease gripping Villisca's residents, as shadows cast by an unseen menace loomed ever larger. As the investigation pressed on, authorities delved into a series of chilling details that only served to heighten the enigma surrounding this abhorrent crime. The killer had not hastily fled after committing the murders. Instead, they lingered within the house, methodically covering mirrors and windows with cloths or garments found on site. This peculiar behavior suggested an attempt to avoid their own reflection, or perhaps prevent any prying eyes from peering inside. The kitchen held further disturbing revelations. Investigators discovered a plate of uneaten food alongside a bowl filled with bloody water. It appeared as though the murderer had taken time to wash up before departing, leaving behind traces of their sinister presence. Even more unsettling was evidence suggesting an effort to clean the axe itself by wiping it down using one of Sarah's dresses. These meticulous post-crime activities indicated that whoever committed this atrocity may have been intimately familiar with their surroundings, feeling comfortable enough to remain there undetected for some time. Such knowledge hinted at someone who possibly lived nearby or visited Villisca frequently. Faced with little concrete evidence, investigators doggedly pursued numerous leads in their quest for justice. They interviewed countless townspeople and followed up on potential suspects who might have harbored animosity towards Josiah Moore or his family. Some believed jealousy or revenge stemming from business dealings gone awry fueled the killings, while others speculated darker motives rooted in envy or lustful desires. Traveling salesmen passing through Villisca around the time of the murders found themselves under scrutiny, as did transient laborers seeking employment in town, and even local residents rumored to bear ill will towards Josiah. Despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement officials, no solid leads emerged, nor did any suspect ever face trial for these barbaric slayings. With each day that passed without answers, hope began to wane that this gruesome puzzle would ever be solved, casting a pall over those desperately searching for the truth. As years turned into decades and leads grew cold, whispers of suspicion haunted the town. Several theories emerged in a desperate attempt to explain the chilling events that transpired on that fateful June night. One such theory implicated Reverend George Kelly, a traveling minister with a dark side who had been present at the Children's Day program, organized by Sarah Moore. Kelly was known for his erratic behavior and mental instability, casting an ominous shadow over his presence in Villisca. In one shocking twist, he even confessed to the murders during a fit of hysteria, but later recanted his statement when confronted with the gravity of his words. Despite being tried twice for these gruesome slayings, both trials ended inconclusively, one resulting in a hung jury, while another led to acquittal. Another suspect lurking within this tangled web of mystery was Frank F. Jones, a prominent local businessman seething with bitterness against Josiah Moore due to professional rivalry. Some believed that Jones may have hired William Mansfield, a hitman with ties to organized crime, to carry out these brutal killings as an act of revenge cloaked in darkness. However, no concrete evidence ever surfaced, linking either man directly to the blood-soaked halls of 508 East 2nd Street. As time wore on like a slow march towards oblivion, other potential suspects were considered, including serial killers Henry Lee Moore, no relation, and Andrew Sawyer. Both men were responsible for similar axe murders across America during this period, their bloody trails crisscrossing through unsuspecting towns like harbingers of doom. Yet again, though, investigators found nothing definitive enough to connect them conclusively to Villisca's tragic tale. The unsolved nature of these atrocities left an indelible mark upon those who lived through it. Fear continued its relentless grip over their once tranquil town as shadows seemed darker than before, hiding secrets beneath their murky depths. And although more than 100 years have passed since that horrific night unfolded within the walls of 508 East 2nd Street, questions still linger like ghosts in the wind, a haunting reminder of the unknown horrors that once visited this quiet corner of America. As the investigation into the Villisca Axe murders unfolded, authorities found themselves grappling with a perplexing lack of evidence. The crime scene offered little in the way of solid clues. Any fingerprints had been obscured, and potential footprints destroyed by curious townspeople who entered the house before it could be secured. Desperate for answers, investigators turned to forensic analysis in hopes of uncovering more information about the killer's identity or methods. Autopsies confirmed that each victim succumbed to severe head trauma from axe blows, an undeniable fact given their grisly remains. Yet this revelation did little to bring them closer to apprehending those responsible. Bloodhounds were enlisted to track scent trails leading away from 508 East 2nd Street, but even these skilled trackers came up empty-handed. It was as if the murderer had vanished into thin air, leaving only death and devastation in their wake. Faced with such scant evidence, investigators relied heavily on witness accounts and circumstantial leads when pursuing suspects. This approach yielded several persons of interest over time, but failed to produce enough substantial proof for convictions. As years passed and new technologies emerged, attempts were made to re-examine existing evidence using modern forensic techniques like DNA testing and blood spatter analysis. But contamination at the original crime scene and degradation of samples over time rendered these efforts inconclusive as well. Undeterred by mounting challenges throughout this century-long quest for answers, those involved in investigating the Villisca Axe murders remained steadfast in their pursuit of justice. They delved deeper into dark secrets hidden within their own community while seeking out every possible lead, no matter how seemingly insignificant or unlikely. This tireless dedication kept hope alive that one day they might finally unmask the elusive monster behind these heinous acts, unveiling long-buried truths amidst shadows cast by history's darkest corners. The Villisca Axe murders cast a shadow of grief and fear over not only the victims' families, but also the entire community. The sheer brutality of this crime, coupled with its unsolved status, served as an unrelenting reminder of life's fragility and the lurking presence of evil in even the most seemingly idyllic places. Josiah and Sarah Moore were deeply mourned by their friends, neighbors, and fellow church members who remembered them for their kindness, generosity, and unwavering devotion to family. Their children, Herman, Catherine, Boyd, and Paul, had been violently robbed of their futures, innocent young lives extinguished before they could fully blossom. Ina Mae Stillinger's parents grieved inconsolably for both her loss and that of her sister, Lena Gertrude. They struggled to comprehend how a simple sleepover at a friend's house could transform into such a nightmarish tragedy. Forever linked to this horrifying event through no fault or choice of their own, Ina Mae and Lena Gertrude became haunting symbols of innocence lost. Survivors within Villisca grappled with complex emotions, guilt gnawing at their hearts, as they wondered if they could have done more to protect those who perished. Anger simmering beneath the surface as they questioned why fate chose these 8 souls. fear coursing through their veins as uncertainty about the killer's identity persisted, confusion clouding their minds as they sought elusive answers amidst fragments of evidence left behind. As time passed like sand slipping through an hourglass, memories began to fade, yet new generations inherited whispered tales from elders about horrors once visited upon their town. Huddled around flickering campfires or gathered in dimly lit rooms during late-night soirees, stories would unfold recounting harrowing events that transpired on that fateful June night in 1912. And while many aspects surrounding this case remain veiled in mystery even today, one truth stands unshakable. The legacy of those lost will forever echo through the annals of history. Over a century has passed since the Villisca Axe Murders, and yet the identity of the person responsible remains shrouded in mystery. As we continue to speculate about who could have committed such an atrocity and what drove them to do so, several theories emerge, each with its own chilling implications. The brutality exhibited by the perpetrator suggests deep-seated rage or hatred towards their victims. However, no clear motive was ever established that would link any suspect directly to these heinous acts. Some researchers posit that this merciless killer may have been a psychopath, devoid of empathy or conscience, capable of carrying out unthinkable violence without remorse. Alternatively, religious fanaticism or delusions might have driven the murderer's actions, as evidenced by Reverend George Kelly's initial confession before ultimately recanting it. The peculiar detail of all mirrors and windows being covered within the house after the murders implies a belief in superstition or fear of spiritual retribution on behalf of this shadowy figure. Yet another theory proposes that this horrendous act was simply a crime of opportunity, an opportunistic predator seizing upon a vulnerable family during their most defenseless moments. In this scenario, anyone possessing knowledge of Josiah Moore's axe and access to his home becomes a potential suspect. As time marches forward relentlessly like sand slipping through an hourglass, evidence degrades further and memories fade into obscurity. But amidst fading whispers from history's darkest corners echo tantalizing secrets waiting to be unveiled, offering glimmers of hope that one day we might finally uncover the truth behind those blood-stained walls. Each possibility presents more questions than answers, leaving us only with speculation while casting doubt over whether justice will ever truly be served for those lost souls whose lives were brutally extinguished on that fateful night in 1912. And as shadows grow longer beneath history's weighty gaze, we find ourselves haunted not only by lingering mysteries, but also by the chilling reminder that the darkest of evils can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary places. Despite the passage of time and relentless pursuit for answers, both by official investigators and amateur sleuths, the Villisca Axe Murders continue to baffle and horrify. The extensive manhunt for the cold-blooded killer yielded no tangible results. Not a single person was ever apprehended or conclusively linked to these brutal slayings. The initial investigation grappled with insurmountable challenges: contamination of the crime scene by morbidly curious onlookers, a frustrating lack of concrete evidence, and an enigmatic absence of any discernible motive behind the killings. As years turned into decades, new leads tantalizingly emerged only to be discredited or dismissed due to insufficient proof. Throughout this seemingly endless search for truth, various suspects were scrutinized, from local rivals like Frank F. Jones, harboring bitter resentment towards Josiah Moore, to traveling ministers burdened by questionable mental stability, such as Reverend George Kelly. Even notorious serial killers Henry Lee Moore and Andrew Sawyer found themselves ensnared within this tangled web of suspicion at different points in time. Yet despite exhaustive efforts by law enforcement officials and independent researchers alike, none could be definitively tied to the blood-soaked nightmare that unfolded within 508 East 2nd Street. In recent years, descendants of those entwined in this chilling tale have continued their quest for closure using cutting-edge forensic techniques and innovative investigative methods. However, even with advancements in technology shining new light upon dusty corners long left unexplored, definitive conclusions about who committed these heinous acts remain agonizingly elusive. As we delve deeper into this haunting narrative that has cast its shadow over generations since its occurrence more than a century ago, we find ourselves confronted by lingering questions that refuse to fade away. Will justice ever truly be served for Josiah Moore's family and their young guests, Ina Mae Stillinger and Lena Gertrude Stillinger? Can secrets buried beneath layers of dust and faded memories ever be unearthed to reveal the face of a monster who once walked among them? While some may argue that certain mysteries are best left undisturbed, others continue their tireless search for answers amidst shadows cast by history's darkest corners, driven by an unwavering determination to uncover long-lost truths hidden within the murky depths of time. In the end, the Villisca Axe Murders stand as a chilling testament to the darkness that can lurk within even the most seemingly ordinary places. The brutal slayings of 8 innocent souls on that fateful night in 1912 have left an indelible mark upon history and continue to haunt those who seek answers. As we close this chapter on one of America's most enduring unsolved mysteries, we are reminded of the fragility of life and the importance of cherishing our loved ones while they are still with us. For it is often through tragedy that we gain perspective on what truly matters: love, family, and community. But beneath these somber reflections lies a lingering question: will justice ever be served for those whose lives were brutally extinguished? With each passing year, new evidence may emerge or old leads might resurface, offering glimmers of hope that someday we might finally uncover the truth behind those blood-stained walls at 508 East 2nd Street. And so, fellow seekers of truth, remember to keep your eyes open and ears tuned into whispers from history's darkest corners. As you embark on your own journeys into mystery and macabre tales beyond imagination, always remain vigilant for secrets waiting just below the surface, for it is only through perseverance that long-buried truths will ultimately be unearthed. Stay with us as we delve deeper into other sinister stories hidden within shadows cast by time itself, where every creaking floorboard or flickering light could signal another haunting tale waiting to unfold. Until then, stay safe out there in this unpredictable world full of enigmas yet to be solved.